About a month ago, MG showed us a platform which spawned two powertrains. One was an all-electric and one was a PHEV. And today, we're seeing the actual life form of that platform, which is the Hector Tomahawk. You have an EV, and out there, you have a PHEV. I'm gonna the numbers out of the way for EV. You get a 69.2 kilowatt pack on this one, delivering about a 507 kilometers of claim range, 201 brake horsepower and 320 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 happens in 8.2 seconds. Those are all the numbers out of the way, which means you realistically get about 400 odd kilometers from this battery pack, which is a really nice deal. Now moving on to the way it looks, you get these nice horizontally slated LED DRLs. They sort of remind me of the Hyundai Alcazar. If they do to you as well, let me know in the comments. You have a neatly shaped LED setup going on. You have two projectors on the inside and tiny elements for the indicators. The overall package looks very neat on the front. Not a lot going on. Very clean, very minimal. Tucked here, all of this cordoned off. A nice lit up MG logo at the front. Again, subtle touches, very neat ones. Honestly, I'd like to see if this design actually makes it to the standard MG Hector as well. Moving on to these wheels are something I want to talk about, because this exact design is something that's very reminiscent. We started seeing this on the Volkswagen Tiguan, very similar design that moved on to the Renault Duster, a little bit of other Volkswagens, then the Skoda Slavia as well, the last one, the latest one as well, and now we see it on the Hector Tomahawk as well. Has inspiration just died, or are everyone just taking inspiration and sort of making their own iteration of it? I'm not a big fan of this at this point, but if you are, let me know in the comments. So yeah, the wheels look like you have a nice red caliper going on for the brakes as well. A lot of black cladding on the sides, something that's not really great to see in the long term, because this sort of fades out. But again, only time will tell if the plastic qualities have improved or no. You have a 2800 millimeter long wheelbase, which means you have room to seat either 5 or 7, which is what the Hector Tomahawk is all about. And as we move on to the back in itself reminds me a lot of the Carnival from the first generation. If you look at it from a distance, just as a glance, it definitely does. So you have the same horizontally slated LED setup like you see on the DRLs. You have it for the tail lamps as well. You have a nice EV badge here, ADAS, and yes, you do get level 2 ADAS on this one. No lit up MG logo at the back, and overall it's a very clean, minimal design going on at the back. You also have a tiny roof spoiler. Talking about boot space, you also get a electrically powered tailgate, which is a great addition. This is the 5-seater variant, which gets about 610 liters of boot space, and that's a lot of boot space for an SUV of this size. Also, if you have 7 seats, you get about 528 liters of boot space, which means if you put them back up, you'd get somewhere in the ballpark of about 300 liters of boot space. And honestly, that in itself is also quite decent for a car in this segment. And now we'll quickly move on to the inside and tell you all about the Hector Tomahawk from there. Getting on the inside of the MG Hector Tomahawk is a very pleasant experience. A very light colored cabin, which means it feels a lot more premium than a lot of its competitors in the segment. However, it still feels like a typical MG in terms of the design language. So you have a lot of screens, a little close to no buttons. Big bummer in my perspective, and if you ask me, because I like physical controls in a car. However, here you need to adjust a lot of things literally from the screen. If you come closer, you'd see a tiny driver display giving you just about information that you need. The fonts are great as well. Everything is very clear to see. A very typical steering wheel that you see something on the Windsor and on the Comet as well. Sort of flat bottomed as well. A little bit of chrome going on it. A huge 15.5-inch infotainment screen that you can toggle through. It's literally like a home tablet that you have, or like a tablet that you use all around in your house. It's literally like that. So you can do your karaoke in the car. You can go through Amazon, Swiggy, Instagram, you name it. You can even buy stuff off Amazon off of this. So a very smart screen. You have Those are the amount of drive modes. You have eco, standard, sport and custom. You can also toggle your region levels depending on how you want it, which means you can leave it in intelligent. Depending on the driving condition, the car adapts to it. But yeah, the screen in itself is an extremely smart space. Like I said earlier, you have ADAS. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's always a great safety net to have in a car in any segment. So you also have a 50-watt fast charger on one side. You have two phone holders here, but only one fast charger, which also has a vent here to cool your phone down when it sort of heats up. You have your fan speed and your temperature control for the air conditioning right here, a hazard switch there, your defogger, some amount of space as well to keep the key if you want. By the way, that's what the key looks like. Very, very premium. You have two cup holders, some storage here with a port, a 12-volt port out here. You have some amount of storage underneath over here as well, where you do not have a transmission tunnel, since this one is an EV, which will change when we quickly see the PHEV in a bit. But the seats in itself are also brand new for the Hector Tomahawk. They're not the conventional seats that you see on the Hector or on any other MG currently in their lineup. The seats overall feel very nice, premium. You have perforations, which means there is ventilation, which is awesome. The under-thigh support also feels quite decent. You have a huge panoramic sunroof to let a lot of light into the cabin, making it even roomier. And now we'll quickly take you to the second row to show you what that has to offer. Oh, by the way, I did miss out that you also have ambient lighting, which is really, really nice. Okay, the second row on the MG Hector Tomahawk really feels like a nice place to be in. I'm 6 feet 1 inches tall. The driver's seat is more or less adjusted to my driving position, and with that also I have decent amount of knee room and leg room overall. Headroom also feels decent, rather even better. And you can also have 3 people sitting at the back very, very comfortably. You do have AC vents at the back along with a Type-C port and a Type-A port. A big question mark to see a Type-A port even in 2026, and this is something I have with MG every single time, that why do you add a Type-A port even today when literally nobody uses Type-A. But anyway, that's something nice to have. You can always have a converter or maybe a Type-A to Type-C, or you can get one. That's relatively easy to get. The floorboard itself, given the battery pack, is super high, which means under-thigh support for people above 6 feet is a little bit of problem, which you can see right here. But apart from that, it's a very nice cabin. You have 2 cup holders as well, so if you're 2 abreast at the back, very, very convenient and easy. You also have sunshades at the back, which is a nice addition to have overall in our country. It would have been nice to see ventilated seats in the second row as well, but again, I think that's a little too much to ask too soon. An Infinity system in terms of the audio, again a great addition, and overall the build quality, fit finish feels really nice. You also have ambient lighting in the roof, which also adds to a nice element in terms of the cabin. Some amount of storage at the back here as well, and you also have a nice deep cup holder. So yes, now coming to the pricing and everything, which I'll get out and let you know about. Okay. Pricing for the Hector Tomahawk starts at rupees 13.99 lakh when it comes to bus. However, if you want to outright purchase a MG Hector Tomahawk, the prices start at about 19.49 lakh, and that's just for the EV. The PHEV also looks almost identical. However, there are a few changes for which we will quickly move on to the PHEV, which is on the side. In terms of the way it looks, it's almost identical. However, a few changes. So if you see the bumper, it gets a little more aggressive cladding. This has been changed as well. You have a big sort of a droopy eye going on, which is in black, but that's one of the visual changes, because apart from that, you also get a powertrain change, which means you get a battery pack and an electric motor, a 1.5 liter engine and a 20.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, giving you 198 brake horsepower combined. MG also claims that this car can do 1100 kilometers in combined range on a single tank, and to add to that, you get 115 kilometers of pure EV range. That's literally the only change and the only updates you see on the MG Hector Tomahawk PHEV. And coming to that price, it starts at about 25.6 lakh. So you let me know in the comments, EV or PHEV. And until next time, cheers.